It's first pitch. I'm the Prez, WagerTalk.com. We've got two of the best handicappers around. The great Dave Cokin, my co-host on the show every day with us Monday to Friday now. And a true baseball betting legend, Bryan Leonard, our regular Friday guest. Dave, I already know how you're doing. Bryan, what's going on in your world, brother?
Doing well. Yeah, struggling a little bit in baseball, but it's going to happen when you have a long season. But overall, doing well.
Yeah, I mean you're up on the season, and listen, you're a value player, so you're going to go into these periods where the dogs aren't barking, and what does it matter, man? Like ultimately, by the end of the season, you're going to be up 100% on your bankroll.
Well, this month has been really good for favorites, and for the most part, I look for dogs. It's going to happen. I'm not worried about it.
Ralph had some incredible statistics on yesterday's first pitch. Dave, I don't remember exactly the specifics of them, but if you bet all teams, I think it was in the last 5 years, all teams over minus 200, you would be up about 90% on your bankroll.
Yeah, favorites are definitely. Look, there is a little bit of a reason for it. Is that
they're better.
Well, this year more than most, the division between the best teams and the really, really bad teams is the biggest it's been in a while. Miami is arguably the worst team.
That's a great point. Baltimore
in the history of baseball. And the Orioles aren't much better. So right there,
and the Blue Jays stink. And I mean, these teams are losing game in and game out. But the interesting part of that really is that it's over the last 5 years. And it even takes into account, obviously, teams like the Yankees and Boston or specifically the Yankees that have been losing money for you at that minus 200 mark. But that's just something interesting, Bryan, because I know you're a dog better. Listen, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit of theory at the beginning, and then we're going to take apart every show on the board. It'll be a longer show than normal, but we will try to keep the analysis tight. Bryan, I'm going to go to you first. I mean, the listeners and myself, we listen to you talk. We listen to you talk about advanced metrics. We listen to you. And Dave, you also do this a lot where you say, I had this game at minus 130. It's minus 150. Therefore, there's value, but not enough. Maybe bet it, maybe not, etc., etc. Bryan, I go to you first. Give us, 3-4 minute thought process of how you're getting these lines, where the line is on what to bet and what not to bet.
Well, I use a data service, Clear Data Sports, and they're friends of ours. We see them every year when we go to spring training, and I trade off my plays for their analysis. And basically, they've got a chart. Dave uses it. Dave knows all about it. But it's one of the things I look at, and it grades out every individual player. And you really need to get down to that level. And I've talked about a lot of people are results oriented, and that's the problem we have here. One of the things you want to do is, number one, you want to beat the closing line on anything you give out. In baseball, is the same in any other sport. The more times you bet you're going to be in the long run. You're going to have your ups and downs for winning and losing, but as long as you go into it and you're getting a plus 160 that closes a plus 140, you're getting good value, and good value is what we're looking for here, and that's one of the things that I take a look at, and I go over my listing, and then I incorporate what I think. There's not a lot of emotional situations, travel situations, that kind of thing in baseball like there is in other sports. Marco's really big on that. Baseball, there's just very few games in which a team really is out to play. And we've all done it. We've all played sports where you play a rival, where you play somebody that's better than you, and you bring something out of you. And baseball, it's not like a physical sport basketball or a football where you could just hit them harder, run faster. Baseball, the harder you try to hit that ball does not mean you're going to hit it any better. We've all been there. We've all played softball if we haven't played baseball. So a lot of people take that into their analysis of the game that they're going to try harder. This is you can't try harder in baseball. That's what they always say. If you're a pitcher, you try to throw the ball harder, you're going to throw more balls than strikes. It's just the way it is. So you have to handicap baseball a little bit differently.
Dave Cokin, and we'll come back to you, Bryan. Dave, run us through what you think, my friend. How you come up with games.
My process is to begin with the starting pitching for obvious reasons. And I do and by the way, the Clear Data service is excellent in terms of having data that's out there and saves you a ton of time. But I start with the starting pitchers. I have a little bit of a curved graph that I use because I'm looking to take pitchers that are on the upswing or go against pitchers that are on the downswing. So I put a lot of stress into the last 3 starts. Advanced metrics are big in those, more than just looking at the box score and seeing, how many earned runs they gave up or something like that. I want to know what the hard hit percentage was, if they're getting hit or if they're not. And that's resulting, by the way, in more of a swing for me toward first 5 plays rather than full games.
First 5 innings, yeah.
Well, look, the bullpens, good luck trying to figure out which bullpen is going to be good on which particular night.
We don't even know who's coming in, right? I mean,
you can have a good idea on that because there's bullpen usage charts. And for instance, on Milwaukee, you know which nights Josh Hader is available and which nights he isn't. And that makes a big difference in isolating any play involving the Brewers. But with most teams, it's really volatile. The other factor that's coming into play now is that more and more teams are going with openers, and that also can be key. I'll give you a real quick example of this. I looked at the St. Louis, Texas game tonight. Texas will be going with Leclerc as an opener, or Leclerc. I'm not sure how to say it.
Yeah. It's really.
I'm a hockey guy, so for me, it's Leclerc, but I know he's not French Canadian. I'm quite sure of that. He'll be followed by Adrian Sampson, and Michaelis is going for the Cardinals. So I look at this and go, boy, this looks like the Cardinals should be a big piece here. And the line's going up, by the way. But then you break it down and you start looking at Sampson, and it's like, well, this guy's been grotesque as a starter, but he's been terrific coming out of the bullpen. So it gets you out of the play. These are things you have to look at. And baseball is a real pain in the ass from that standpoint. If you're not willing to grind on a daily basis, looking at the starting pitchers, then the bullpen availabilities, then the prices, making your own prices, and acting off that, you got no shot in baseball if you're not going to do that. It's not a sport where you can just look for situations and play them because, as Bryan explained, there are just not enough of them in a 162-game season.
Bryan, talk to me about the time it takes for you. I mean, you're in a situation where there's 100 games in a day. Talk about the time it takes and when you start and when you release.
Actually, I start when the lines come out the night before. Last night I happened to bet 3 games. I got a big advantage on the lines in that case. The problem is a lot of the lines are moving so fast. If you put out a play the night before at plus 168 and the next day it goes to 130 by the time the lines open everywhere else, you're going to have customers who are going to get pissed because some of them are using the local guys and everything, and they're not able to get down on these games. So Dave and I are able, since Dave's a nighttime guy, I'm more of a daytime guy, but we're able to get bets in much better numbers than what we could give our clients, and that's just the way it is.
Well, you know what? Let's try fix that, Bryan, because it's very important. I'm going to speak to head office. Let's see if we can figure out a text club for maybe your baseball where when you bet it, no matter what time, you just send it off by text and the customers will receive it. Because, I mean, we're actually talking about substantial value. And not only substantial value, Bryan, but as we've spoken about, we're talking about actual plays between yes and no. So yeah, I'm going to speak to head office about that next week, and let's see if we can organize something like that. I mean, you really are our focal point baseball handicapper at WagerTalk.com, and you know, as professional bettors, this is a lifestyle for us, and if people are going to buy your season package, they need to enter that lifestyle. So let me figure that out. Dave, how much time do you put in a day on baseball?
I don't know. I don't keep track of it. But if you're including watching the games, because I do watch the games, I think that's important. I don't know. It's probably 8 hours. Because
Yeah.
from 4 o'clock until the games are done, I'm watching, and the handicapping process is at least 2 hours. So I guess that adds up to 8. I don't know. I never kept track of it. I enjoyed it.
But listeners, what you need to remember is when Dave says the handicapping process is 2 hours, that's 2 hours after the machine has been put in place. You know, if you were to go through and write out everything and not use these databases to help you, I mean, you'd need a team of guys. Speaking of which, how do I handicap baseball, and how many hours do I put in? The answer to that, the question 2, how many hours do I put in, is 0. I used to do all of this stuff too, Brian and Dave. I mean, I used to work 14 hours a day in November. Obviously, baseball's not happening. And I used to put in 4 to 6 hours a day in baseball. Now I am part owner of WagerTalk.com and trying to grow a business. I do my own NHL plays. I do my own NFL plays. I have a team of guys in Vegas that do my baseball plays now. And look, people are going to say, well, that's bullshit, Prez. How do you know your stuff? Why should we buy from you? The bottom line is, I've won in baseball 5 of the last 6 seasons. I'm down. The only season I lost, I was down 16 units. You can be rest assured that most stockbrokers out there, mutual fund advisors, they're using people who are experienced in different areas. Brian, I think you mentioned to me maybe in football season, and I could be wrong, where you trade plays with other people. We have many handicappers who actually play your plays in baseball, Brian, even though they're handicapping their own plays. I take no shame in the fact that I'm simply too busy to spend the time required to win, and I was capable of finding a group of 3 guys who work together that don't have a brand and that were willing to work inside of the Prez brand. I take no shame in it.
Yeah, I've said before, I buy plays, I trade plays. I'll bet a hockey play. I do my own hockey. I don't give out a lot of hockey, but if somebody else has a play that
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but was it you? I mean, you actually called me or emailed me about hockey a few weeks ago.
I've used in the past. I bought other guys' hockey. Like I said, I'm doing myself. I just went over the last 2 years. I'm up 50 units in hockey, and I play maybe one play a week, just because I don't have time with all the other stuff going on.
Exactly.
That's why I didn't do the NBA this year.
Yeah.
And it's why I don't do a lot in the NFL, because most of my time is spent on college football. I've got 3 sports I do really well: college football, baseball, and the NHL. When I was on my own, I had to sell every sport. You just have to if you're going to make money in the business. Now that I'm still on my own, but I'm with Wager Talk, and I put up 2 plays in the NBA the entire season, and I'm 2-0. And that works for me. I'm going to stay with what I know are my best sports.
Yeah.
And as far as trading goes, I don't trade picks as much as for college football. And I do think this is really worthwhile for anybody. Trading information and it's good for college basketball as well. But trading information in college football is terrific. I'll argue that I've got as good a contact base as far as college football is concerned with people who are inside the programs as anybody around. And it gets me information that's not out there publicly, and you can really take advantage of that. Same thing with basketball. I got a couple of guys, not so much as I used to back east, but I've got some really good contacts, the West Coast Conference, Big Sky, and that's where most of my plays are now in college basketball. And when I get away from those conferences, I don't do that well, quite frankly.
Yeah, and for me, I can't do college basketball. I live in Canada. The games aren't on. There's a million games. I got a company to run. I got bills to pay. The team of guys that I use under the Prez brand, they're not all the same. I find the best college basketball guy I can find. I got the best guy, find the best baseball guy I can find. Look, I would love Bryan Leonard to do my baseball, but you do your own. So respect. And I play both of you guys on a regular basis. The bottom line is, listeners, if you're not putting 6 to 8 hours a day in, just buy the plays, because they are. And you listen to our shows every day and you hear the knowledge base. Come on, bring on Colin Cowherd, bring on Jim Rowe, bring on, Alan Shine, the talking heads out there. Let's talk about that Harold Reynolds or Joe Buck. Nobody can talk baseball like the WagerTalk boys. So let's get right into it, shall we?
All right, let's go. By the way, I want to throw this in just because I know you asked me whether I wanted to talk about it or not, but you sent me a text that said adjust your glasses. Look, I have some basal cell sarcoma issues around my left eye. It's a mess. That's why I wear the shades, and sometimes a little scar pops out.
It doesn't bother anybody, Dave. We absolutely love you. And listen, everybody.
Bothers me.
Yeah, of course. Listen, Dave.
Not a lot of fun.
Dave, of course it bothers you. But you know what my mother says? What's the alternative, brother?
A patch, which I'm actually considering.
Yeah, well, you know what? The only reason I texted you that is because it's something that bothers you. And
it doesn't bother me. I just don't want other people talking about it. So, all right. Anyway,
let's move on. Chicago Cubs, 25-16, playing the Nats. Brian, I'm going to go to you first. The Nationals are minus 165. The over and under is 8. I'm going to keep my analysis down to almost 0 in the show, as it'll go very, very long. Hamels versus Scherzer seems like an under to me. What are you doing in this game?
First off, I just want to point out one of the reasons Dave, people he talks to with the knowledge is, and he didn't mention it, he's on the radio all day. And he's able to talk to people all around the world on this radio show. And unless you were listening to Dave on the radio every day, you're not going to get that same information he's getting. So that's something we all are in envy of, is Dave is able to talk to everybody with inside knowledge on these teams. But Dave's great with that kind of thing. I made this line higher than that for Washington, but all the values come out of it. The overnight was very low, but all the money's come on Washington. I prefer the Washington side, just can't play it at this number.
Same. And Scherzer's, if you're looking at those grading curves, Scherzer is definitely trending upward right now. He's starting to get into Max Scherzer form. Hamels is having control problems. Washington is playing well window for the Nationals because I don't think they're a good team. But right now, Washington would be a team that I might avoid playing against for at least a few days.
A big matchup in the AL East. Tampa Bay against the Yankees. Both teams, very similar record. 26-15 for Tampa Bay, 26-16 for the Yankees. Dave, I go to you first. Tampa Bay's won 2 in a row. The Yankees are just on fire. 3 in a row, 5 of 6, 8 of 10. We have the home team tonight at minus 120. The over and under is 9.5. Sabathia on the mound for the Yanks. What are we doing in this game?
Nothing. It's a good price. Stanek will open for Tampa, followed by apparently Chirinos. Actually, he's done pretty well. Yanni Chirinos has done a nice job for them. Sabathia, But he knows he's going to be out there for only 5 innings, 2 trips through the order, and he can bear down on that. I priced this right where it is, 120. So nothing even close to a play for me.
Brian, any quick thoughts?
Yeah, I have a little bit of value on Tampa, not enough to play. CC Sabathia is due for some regression. He had some in his last outing, I believe. But yeah.
Colorado, Philadelphia. Brian, I'll go to you first. Colorado 20-22. Phillies 5 games above 500. The Rockies playing to the over. What else is new? Philly playing to the under. 6 games to the under. With a lot of bats in that lineup. Home team -120. Over and under here is 9. Colorado's gone over the total of 9. Their last 3 games in a row at 6, 7, 8, 9 of their last 10. And Philly can hit the ball. Not of late, though. 3-2-1 against Milwaukee. But I like the over here, Bri.
Cole Irvin's getting his second start. The first start, he went 7 innings, gave up an earned run. Looked pretty good, 5-1 strikeout to walk ratio. But it's not a lot to base yourself on, and he did pitch well, so I think he's getting a little too much. I think I like Colorado. Colorado's playing some good ball on the road. They're hitting very well. They've struggled in the past on the road, but they're doing really well right now. I think there's some value here on Colorado. I haven't played it yet, but slight value on Colorado. Line open 130.
Dave Cokin.
I'll talk very, very quickly about Irvin. Swervin Irvin. He's not a stuff guy. He's already a crafty left-hander, even though he's barely old enough to shave. But this is a kid who got 4 pitches, none of which are that good, but he really knows how to mix things up and keep hitters off balance. He could be very difficult first time around the league with players not having seen him. So I'm going to probably avoid or play on him. I will avoid here because I do think the price offers some value on Colorado. And one thing on the Phillies, this is why I watch games. Their defense the last 2 games has been unbelievably bad. I mean, you can't believe some of the stuff they've done in the field that didn't show up as errors. I'm going to pass.
We talk about Miami being one of the worst teams potentially in history of baseball. 21% of the money coming in is on Miami today. They're hosting the Mets. Oh, God, Miami. I mean, they just can't win a game. They've lost 7 in a row, 9 of 10, 100 out of 102. The New York Mets, they've just lost 2 in a row against Washington. They just don't look good at all. Miami plus 170. The over and under is 6.5. Miami just can't hit the ball. If you're going to get over 6.5, the Mets are going to need to put up at least 4 of those.
And they might do it against Trevor Richards, who is just not very good. I don't see any way to make a case for the Marlins. Might consider the Mets as half of a big truck parlay.
Brian, any thoughts?
Yeah, you take a look at Miami. They're 1-3 in extra inning games, 2-5 and 1-run games. If you're going to bet Miami, you got to do it in the first 5 innings because that bullpen really has not held leads all season long. Miami's not bad in the first 5. Full games have been lousy. You take a look at Trevor Richards, his game scores in this game so far, the last 7 starts, 40 or 49. Taking DeGrom's 58, so you got a much better pitcher. DeGrom the last 3, 70, 67, 75. Baseball against one of the worst offenses we've seen in quite some time. It's either the Mets or nothing for me.
Brian, I go to you first on the Cincinnati game. They're playing the Dodgers tonight. Cincinnati looked good last night. We spoke about this game, about betting Cincinnati yesterday against the Cubs. They won 4-2. They've won 2 in a row. They've won 5 of their last 7 games. The Dodgers, 3 in a row. Swept their 2-game series against San Diego. Went 2-2 against Washington and swept Atlanta. The Dodgers are rounding into some mean form right now. Cincinnati, a home dog, very slight, 110. Over and under is 9.5. I think we're going to actually see Cincinnati as a bye team for the next little while.
Yeah, I talked about that all season long. They got off to that terrible start. Interesting enough, last year Cincinnati played the Dodgers 7 times. They beat them 6 out of 7. As bad as the Dodgers, as good as the Dodgers were, and as bad as Cincinnati was, that's amazing. Well, the Dodgers have come out and won all 3 meetings this year. 2 of those by Cincinnati here. They've lost a little bit of value, but I like the situation here with Cincinnati. This is a team that Descafani's one of those guys that when he's healthy, he's a pretty good pitcher. Rich Hill is what he is. He's good when he's healthy. Not always healthy, but take a look at what Cincinnati has done. Extra inning games 2-4, 1-run games 7-13. This is a very unlucky team. They were extremely unlucky last year. I think there's some value right now in Cincinnati.
Go ahead, Dave.
I think that you can make a case for the Reds here. My primary worry is Rich Hill is approaching the point where he should be done with his spring training that he's effectively been in because of the injury start of the season. Excuse me. And the one worry I've got on DeSclafani is he's very prone to the home run ball. And boy, I mean, the Dodgers have got some guys who can launch the ball out of the park. So if they get a couple men on and Bellinger comes up, you could have a 3 spot in a hurry. Lean Cincinnati, but it's not at this point strong enough for me to make a bet on.
Dave Cokin, Bryan Leonard, both found at WagerTalk.com. I'm the Prez. You can find this show First Pitch Monday to Friday at WagerTalk TV on YouTube, the #1 handicapping channel in the world. Detroit against Oakland. 18-24 Detroit, 20-25 Oakland. We got the home team, Detroit, at plus 150 tonight. The over and under is 9. Norris versus Montez. Where are we going, Brian?
Take a look at Detroit's offense. The last 9 games, they haven't had a single game where they scored more than 5 runs in the game. Oakland struggled until last night with 3. But I don't want any part of Detroit right now. This is a team that I talked to. Johnny was in town for the NCAA tournament. He had a friend come in town, talk about the Tigers. And I said to fade the Tigers the rest of the way. They weren't that good. He kind of poo-pooed me. But now we're saying that this Tiger offense is as lousy as the Indians offense is. It's pretty bad. Don't want any part of that, so I'm going to be passing on this one.
Yeah, he could have made a case early to take Oakland. The 145 opener was appealing. It's now in the 170s, so not interested in that. Oakland could rake Norris, though. He's not pitching that badly, but Oakland's lineup is configured to do some damage to lefties.
Dave, we'll go to you first. Houston, 29-15, playing against Boston. 64% of the money is coming in on the away team. Houston's won 8 games in a row, Dave. But Boston is rolling too, man. They've turned their season around. They're in great form right now. They've won 6 of their last 7. We have Boston as the home dog at 122.5. Porcello versus Cole. I think Boston is barking. I don't want to get in the way of Houston right now, but I don't want to get in the way of Boston either. Where are you going?
I'm looking at the under in this game, and that might sound weird because it's like Houston's just killing the baseball.
Yeah.
Right now. But Rick Porcello is pitching really well. If you remove the first inning from his last start, he is on a big roll. I don't know what happened in the first inning of that start. He just couldn't locate and got hit for 4 runs. Then he gave up nothing the rest of the way. His prior starts to that have been good. Cole is a really solid pitcher. I mean, it's scary. At Fenway Park, 2 really good offense. You know, good pitching still beats good hitting. And I think 9.5, that might be on the high side. I'm considering a first 5 and full game split on the under in this one.
Bryan Leonard, what do you think in this game?
Yeah, Porcello, the last 3 times he's played Houston, he got hit pretty well. Cole has also been hit pretty well against Boston. But I talked earlier about teams with motivation, non-motivation. You don't see very often. Houston was really upset at the way they played against the Boston Red Sox in the playoffs last year, got knocked out. This is the first game that they played since the last year's playoffs. Houston actually came out and really talked about that. So We'll see what happens, but I know this is a series that Houston has circled coming into the season, and we'll see if they can come out and do some damage here. Last 2 years, they won 4 out of 7 each year against Boston, so I understand where the line has been going. It's been going Houston. If I played it, it'd be that side.
Dave, you and I spoke yesterday about Baltimore and Cleveland. We said this game was going to go over. It did. Back again against each other. Cleveland 23-19 on the season. 78% of the money is coming in on them right now. They're minus 180. The over and under is 9. Baltimore is a very, very bad baseball team. They've lost 3 in a row, 7 of 8. Cleveland's won 3 of their last 4. Dave Cokin, Rodriguez versus Bundy. What do you like?
Nothing. Not laying a price like that with Jeffrey Rodriguez. Don't want any part of Bundy. The Orioles are 11-31 in his last 42 starts. The Indians finally hit the baseball last night. Maybe that's a positive sign for them, but I'm not laying the price, and I'm not betting the Orioles.
Bryan Leonard, any thoughts on this game?
If you want to play the Orioles, you play them on the road. They're much better than they are at home. Take a look at Jeffrey Rodriguez. This year, since the trade for Washington, he's come over. The teams he's played against, Kansas City, Miami, Chicago White Sox, Oakland A's. Not exactly teams that knock the hell out of the baseball. Bundy, take a look at his last 5 games. Twice he plays Minnesota, twice he plays Tampa Bay, and he played the Angels. Big drop in strength of schedule for Bundy here. I like the Orioles here. I'm a Cleveland native. I love the Indians, but I cannot back this team. Jason Kipnis hit 2 home runs last night. He may not hit 2 more home runs the rest of his career. The management in Cleveland's been bad. The lineups are bad. It's like they're tanking. I don't understand the way Cleveland's playing this year. They don't have a ton of talent, but the price is not. It's on Baltimore, and there's been money coming into Baltimore all night, so the wise guys are on them.
Atlanta versus Milwaukee. I said go over yesterday. It did. Atlanta 23-21 on the season. Milwaukee 27-19. The Braves are at home. They're minus 140-ish. The over and under is 9.5. I'm going right back to the well, Dave Cokin. I'm playing the over again.
Chacin is starting to grind like he usually does for Milwaukee, and he's a guy who's never going to look that good, but manages to get outs. Fried has been pretty good for Atlanta. The Braves, big boost to the offense with the kid they called up from AAA. Austin Riley's had 2 big games already, and he does change that lineup from the looks of things. I priced this game in the 130 range, so I'm not really seeing anything playable here. But the Braves have a little positive momentum, and Milwaukee's coming off an exciting series with the Phillies and having to travel. Maybe a little bit of an advantage to Atlanta here.
Well, and Milwaukee's hitting the ball great. 11-5-6-4 against Philly. What?
I said they're a good team.
Yeah, they are.
They've got an incredible hitter in Christian Yelich and a lot of good guys around him. They're a dangerous club.
Brian, any quick thoughts on this Milwaukee game?
My line picks Atlanta, but I'm not going to play it.
Brian, Texas 19-22, St. Louis 23-21. The home team is plus 130. The over and under is 11.5. That's a big total, but we see that a lot with Texas, and we've seen it a lot with Texas for about 10 years now. Where are you going in this game?
Big home road dichotomy for both of these teams. St. Louis on the road 9-12. Texas at home 12-7. Jose Leclerc. This is a guy. This is a guy who's just going to be pitching an inning or so here as a starter. Mikolas has been a little bit disappointing. I don't have anything. This game is not worth a play for me.
Dave Cokin.
Mikolas is starting to get it together. But these teams that try the openers, it seems to work for some reason, and I can't even gather what it is. Well, I have said what it is, and maybe it's the fact that they're setting out a flamethrower to face the top of the order, and it just sets things in motion. Look, if you like St. Louis, you missed the boat on it, okay? It's getting up in the 150 range now. I don't think you can play it at that price. So that's what we talked about earlier. You need to be able to get out there in the evening sometimes, especially on some of these favorites, if you want to get some value.
Chicago White Sox won 4 of their last 5 games. They beat the Blue Jays yesterday 4-2, even after Stroman put up a good performance. There's 61% on money coming in on them tonight. They're minus 113 to 120 with an over and under of 9. Aaron Sanchez on the mound, pitching well. Nova not. I lean on the over in this game. Dave Cokin, any thoughts?
A little mild disagreement there on Nova. His last 2 starts have been pretty good. The problem is with Nova is you really don't know what you're going to get. He's incredibly erratic, and he's one of the pitchers I tend to stay away from. I don't like Aaron Sanchez. I don't like pitchers who walk guys, and Aaron Sanchez walks guys all the time. In Toronto, I mean, they couldn't even hit Dylan Covey, who is a AAA pitcher. I can't make a case.
Well, they have a AAA roster.
Well, they're not very good. I mean, I'll grant you that, but it's still Dylan Covey. I don't know. To me, this is just an easy pass for me. I made the White Sox a small favorite, and they are.
Bryan Leonard.
Aaron Sanchez is one of those guys that has some regression coming. You take a look at his walk percentage. Dave talked about it, 12.7%. Barrel rate, 8.9, which isn't good. You're looking to fade him anytime you can. My number shows a little value on Chicago. Ivan Nova's one of those guys that isn't impressive, doesn't strike out a lot of batters, but he's one of those crafty pitchers, and we've seen it. You talked about the young crafty guy coming up for Philadelphia. Those are the kind of guys I like to back because there usually doesn't have a lot of value on those teams because everybody wants to play the big strikeout guys. There's value on those kind of pitchers. Don't know if I'll get there, but I'm leaning that way.
Nova is, let me quickly add, Nova is a really interesting live bet coach. Watch the first inning. You can pretty well gauge whether he's going to have a good Nova night or a bad Nova night, and you can act accordingly.
Great point, Dave. San Francisco on the road playing Arizona. Arizona 24-20. San Francisco down 6, under 6.5, whatever. I can't even get it out. Yeah. 18-24. Arizona minus 143. Over and under is 9. Look, here's the bottom line for me. Kelly against Samardzija. I'm playing Arizona here. I understand I'm paying some juice, but they're just a much better team than San Francisco. But they haven't played well. I mean, look, they've lost 4 of their last 6, but they did just lay the smack down against Pittsburgh. They won that series. I'm all over Arizona tonight. Brian?
My numbers don't say play Arizona, but I have no problem fading Samardzija. Another one of those guys that his numbers are really bad. His walk rate is 7.8. His barrel rate, 8.3. Samardzija's been one of those guys that, we talked about this with another pitcher a couple days ago. They could come out and pitch a great game, and he's such a big guy, and he could be overpowering. But most of the time, he's just not very good. He should have went into college after he left college. Should have went into the NFL. Although he'd be out of the NFL a long time ago.
I think he did well financially, making the move.
Definitely made the right decision in that regard. But he is just not a good major league pitcher. And this San Francisco team they're clutching the straws, as they say, when they continue to make these trades and trying to find a fix. But they're just not very good.
I'm watching the price on this one. I'm not going to make a case for Samardzija, but Merrill Kelly isn't very good. Okay. I think he was on adrenaline early, coming back to the States from Korea, and nobody'd seen him pitch. But I've watched him, and his stuff is really marginal. And even the Giants might be able to do some damage. If this price climbs into the plus 135 range, I think I might take a shot with the Giants on some value.
Team Prez ain't overthinking this one, guys. I'm taking the better team. And so is my dog, which is called Vegas. Kansas City on the road against Los Angeles. Dave, I go to you first. The home team is minus 160. Over and under is 10. I'm going to go open the front door so my dog shuts up. Oh, they came in through the garage door. Where are we going in this game, Cokin?
Well, the dogs are barking. No.
Okay, good one. I just got it. It took a sec.
It should be on the Giants because the dog was barking during that analysis. I don't want Brad Keller, who is going to turn on.
One sec, Dave. One of our listeners is actually going to use that angle. They're going to bet San Fran strictly because God caused my dog to bark. Anyway.
No, actually, God had nothing to do with it. Somebody came to the door.
But nobody's at the door.
Well, the dog thinks there is. And dogs, they're a little weird.
It's God.
Okay, so Brad Keller, he's obviously never going to live up to being the 5th overall draft pick, which he was years ago. But, he's okay. It's not that bad. I can't lay this price with Matt Harvey. And yet, the flip side of it is this Angels team, pretty good at home, and I think feeling good about themselves. So the Angels right now are a team where it's kind of – maybe you can explain this better than I can, Brian. It's a weird dynamic with the Angels where I know they're not that good, okay, but they think they are. And they're, in my opinion, playing better than their abilities right now. And that's not a team I like going against.
I've been riding the Angels for the last 2-3 weeks. A lot of it is the offense. That offense is really heating up. When you've got, a Hall of Famer first ballot guy, and Albert Pujols is probably one of the least productive hitters in that lineup. It's a pretty good lineup.
Look at Porcello.
Yeah,
what's going on there?
They're playing really well, and I'm not a big man. Or I bet the Angels overnight. I laid to 147, probably waited too long, but now I look at their 162, 163. When I went to bed last night, I thought the Angels were going to be my best bet today, and then the line shot up, and it's not a play. So that just goes to tell you we need to do something about getting these plays out earlier.
Yeah, Brian, I'm going to work on that. Speaking, Dave, of a team who thinks they're better than they are, and we spoke about this yesterday, the lowly Kansas City Royals, 15-29 on the season, and the rumors, as you were talking about, is that they might be buyers.
Well, not buyers, but not sellers.
Yeah,
because everybody's assuming they got to sell, and I don't know if that's going to be the case because they think realistically that they can maybe make this year. No, but they're thinking that their base is good enough, and if they keep guys like Alex Gordon who are tradable, that they can make a move in a weak AL Central next year. I don't disagree. I'd rather see a team aggressively looking at things in a way that they're trying to win, rather than a team that for the Marlins who are trying to build for 2040.
What do you like? What do you like? Pittsburgh, San Diego, Brian.
I thought we were talking about the Royals. I think, do they really have anything that's tradable?
I got bored.
Yeah,
and I'm hungry, dude. Like I just did Morning Joe with Marco. I did Puck Time with Carm and Andrew. I'm at 45 minutes with you two old farts. I need food.
I think there's value on San Diego, but once again, this line is getting up there where I had it. Jordan Lyles, obviously a fade guy. His stats are just ridiculous. He's been very lucky. Lucchesi, I like the San Diego pitching staff, the top 3 or 4 guys. I like the Padres here, but with the current line, it's probably passed us by.
Yeah, and you can't really bet the Padres on the run line either. Dave, what are your thoughts?
It's overpriced, but I don't really want the Pirates. I think this is probably going to be a bullpen game, and San Diego has the much more trustworthy bullpen. So, it might be a live bet situation. I'd like to see the Pirates get ahead early and the Padres at plus price. If it's a close game in the 6th inning, I might take a shot with San Diego.
Minnesota. This team you cannot bet on the run line at all. They're up 13 units if you bet them on the money line this season. down half a unit on the run line. They're playing Seattle tonight. Dave, I go to you first. Home team, away team, over and under. What do you like?
Clearly leaning to the Twins in the game. Martine Perez, not real good last time out, but not awful either. And he's reinvented himself with this cutter that he's got, and he throws it in the mid-90s. And when he's commanding that pitch, you can't hit the guy. So you have to throw out the old Martine Perez stats. He's a much better start. Looks like they've got a really good pitching coach in Minnesota, because he made an adjustment with Odorizzi, where he's got him taking a longer stride now than he had in the past. And Odorizzi's in the best year of his career. There's a lot to like in this Twins team, not to like on the Mariners. Marco Gonzalez, I think, has been getting by in smoke and mirrors, and I just don't think he's that good. I would favor the Twins here.
Bryan Leonard, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. Martine Perez is one of those guys that found a pitch, changed something, and he's a different pitcher. And we've seen that every year. You get 2 or 3 guys like that, and it's a different situation, and people just take too long to adjust. Marco Gonzalez is a fade at this point. His numbers just, he's got a 3.18 ERA, means nothing. He's a definite fade guy. We got a Prez team that people don't realize is a different pitcher now. I think there's value there on the road team here.
That's the show, boys. Outstanding stuff. Bryan Leonard and Dave Cokin, both found at WagerTalk.com. Same with me. I'm the Prez. All 3 shows are up at WagerTalk TV, our YouTube channel, Puck Time, First Pitch, and Morning Joe. Morning Joe is outstanding. Marco comes on, gives out great information on tonight and tomorrow's basketball game. You guys rock. Dave Cokin, we'll see you on Monday. Both of you have an outstanding, incredible week. And listeners, make sure to keep commenting, keep sharing, keep liking. And everybody have an outstanding weekend.